Roughly 80 Canadians die from cold exposure every year. Not in the backcountry, not on a mountain, in their own homes. Environment Canada data confirms it. Most of those deaths happen during sleep. Your body cools, your heart slows, you don't wake up. If your power cuts out tonight during a minus 40 Celsius wind chill, your house has about 6 hours before indoor temperatures drop below the point where hypothermia begins. 6 hours, that's not a weekend. That's a Wednesday. I spent months pulling apart thermodynamic research, Environment Canada incident data, and survival case files from the prairies to the Maritimes. What I found is a list of 10 items, almost all under $20. Most available at Canadian Tire or Dollarama that turn your home into a functioning survival shelter. Everyone owns a snow shovel. Almost nobody owns a survival plan. Cole doesn't negotiate. Number 1. A portable propane buddy heater. Most people think blankets are enough. They're not. Blankets slow heat loss. They don't generate heat. When your furnace dies, your house bleeds roughly 3 to 5 degrees Celsius per hour, depending on insulation. A low CO indoor rated propane buddy heater puts out around 4,400 watts of thermal energy on the high setting. It runs on standard 1-pound propane cylinders you can grab at Canadian Tire for under $6 each. The unit itself costs under $120. It's the single most recommended off-grid heat source in every cold climate preparedness community, and it sits on a shelf year-round at a store within 15 minutes of most households. Heat is not a comfort, heat is medicine. Number 2, a minus 40 rated sleeping bag. Your duvet is rated for a heated bedroom. That's it. When indoor temps fall to single-digit Celsius, a standard comforter fails catastrophically. You need an EN-rated sleeping bag tested to minus 40 Celsius. Cabela's and MEC both stock them. Hypothermia deaths don't happen to people who are awake and moving. They happen to people who fall asleep trusting the wrong insulation. Your bed is not rated for what's coming. Number 3. Calorie-dense, shelf-stable food. Here's what nobody tells you about cold. Your body burns up to 4,200 extra kilojoules per day just shivering. That's the equivalent of an entire extra meal disappearing into heat production through caloric thermogenesis. The standard 72-hour emergency kit assumes normal caloric needs. It's laughably underpacked for a real ice storm. Stock peanut butter, canned stew, granola bars, anything high-fat and shelf-stable. A $20 run at No Frills gives you a week of emergency calories. Cold is a calorie tax your kit didn't budget for. Number 4. A battery-powered or hand-crank radio. In 1998, the Quebec ice storm knocked out power for millions of people across Quebec, Ontario, and New Brunswick. Some areas went 5 weeks without electricity. 5 weeks. People without radios had zero access to warming center locations, boil water advisories, or road closure updates. Public Safety Canada documented the communication breakdown as one of the deadliest failure points of the entire event. A hand crank radio costs under $25 at Canadian Tire. Information is the first supply that runs out. Number 5. Insulated water containers and a safe method to melt snow. Most people assume they can just eat snow. Don't. Eating snow directly drops your core temperature and forces your body to burn calories, rewarming itself. Meanwhile, cold, dry air strips moisture from your lungs faster than you realize. Dehydration in winter is a silent killer because you don't feel thirsty. You need insulated bottles to keep water liquid and a safe way to melt snow using your propane heater or a candle setup. We'll get to that candle setup in a moment. It costs $4. Thirst doesn't feel like thirst at minus 30. Number 6. This is the one most people skip past, and it's the one I want you to remember. Cheap tea light candles and a terracotta pot. A single tea light candle produces roughly 30 watts of heat. That sounds tiny. But here's where the physics matters. Place 4 tea lights on a ceramic plate. Invert a terracotta clay pot over them. Clay acts as thermal mass. It absorbs the convective heat rising from the flames and re-emits it as radiant heat, which warms objects and people directly instead of just warming air. That's the difference between convective heat, which rises and pools at your ceiling doing nothing, and radiant heat, which reaches your body like standing near a campfire. 4 candles at 30 watts each gives you roughly 120 watts of radiant thermal output concentrated through clay. In a small enclosed room, like a bathroom or a closet with a door closed, This raises the ambient temperature by several degrees Celsius. The entire setup costs under $4 at Dollarama. Tea lights, a clay pot, a ceramic plate. That's your emergency furnace. There's a reason this went viral during grid failures. It works. Coal doesn't negotiate. 4 candles, 1 pot, that's your furnace. Number 7. Mylar emergency blankets taped over your windows from the inside. Standard glass windows account for 25 to 30% of a home's total heat loss. That's not a guess. That's building science. Mylar reflects up to 97% of radiant heat back inward. Tape a $15 roll from Walmart Canada over every window in your main living space, and you've turned that room into a thermos. NASA developed this material for spacecraft insulation. You're applying the same physics to your living room. Your windows are open. You just can't see it. Number 8. Automotive-grade chemical hand warmers. Keep a box in your glove compartment. In 2022, a Saskatchewan family was stranded overnight on a highway during a blizzard. Temperatures dropped below -35 Celsius. They survived partly because chemical hand warmers stuffed inside their clothing maintained peripheral circulation, long enough to prevent frostbite in their extremities. Most people keep an ice scraper in their vehicle. Almost nobody keeps heat. Your glove box should keep your hands. Number 9. Pay attention to this one. Vegetable shortening. A tub of Crisco or store-brand shortening from No Frills costs about $5. Insert a cotton wick, a piece of cotton string, or even a strip of cotton fabric into the tub. Light it, and it burns as a stable candle for up to 45 hours. That's nearly 2 days of continuous light and mild warmth from a single container. Outage. During the siege of Sarajevo in the 1990s, civilians used cooking fat as both a light source and a crude skin barrier against windburn and cracking in freezing conditions. It does 2 survival jobs for $5. There's a grocery store item later in your emergency kit that outlasts every candle on the shelf. You're looking at it. The most boring aisle has the longest burn time. Number 10. Pool noodles. Yes, pool noodles. A $2 pool noodle from Dollarama, cut lengthwise and pressed under doors and around window frames, follows the same R-value density principle as professional foam gaskets. Your home loses a staggering amount of heat through gaps you can feel with your hand on a cold night. Draft sealing is the cheapest thermal upgrade that exists, and almost nobody includes it in a blackout kit because it looks absurd. That's exactly the point. The cheapest prep in this list might be the one that matters most. Here's what you're looking at. 10 items. A propane heater at $120. A sleeping bag around $100 to $150 at Cabela's or MEC. $20 in shelf-stable food. A radio for $25. Insulated bottles for $15. Tea lights in a pot for $4. Mylar for $15. Hand warmers for $10. Shortening for $5. Pool noodles for $2. Total cost sits under $200 depending on the sleeping bag. 1 trip to Canadian Tire, 1 stop at Dollarama, 1 pass through No Frills. That's your survival kit built in a single afternoon. Coal doesn't negotiate. It doesn't care about your thermostat history or your property value or your postal code. It moves through glass, through gaps, through sleeping bodies that trusted the wrong gear. But here's what I want you to take from this. You're not building a bunker. You're not becoming a survivalist. You're assembling $200 worth of physics, radiant heat retention, caloric thermogenesis compensation, thermal mass, draft elimination. These aren't fringe concepts. They're engineering. The people who survive extended blackouts aren't lucky. They're just not negligent. That's the only difference between prepared and unprepared. You're not a prepper. You're just not negligent. Drop your province below. I want to know who's actually prepped for a week-long blackout right now. And if you're thinking about your car right now, good. Your vehicle is a different problem entirely. That's the next one.